Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that Supreme Brahman is infinite, and this conditioned Brahman is infinite. The infinite conditioned Brahman proceeds from the infinite Supreme Brahman. Then, through knowledge, realizing the infinitude of the infinite conditioned Brahman, it remains as the infinite unconditioned Brahman alone. Om, peace, peace, peace. All right. Isha Upanishad. We are going to do we're going to start 12th mantra. The 12th mantra. Today we're going to do 12, 13, 14. It's a triad. Last time we had done 9, 10, 11. Let me just chant the 12th mantra, the translation, then back up and give context. Andham tamah pravishanti ye andham tamah pravishanti ye asambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya sambhutyagam rataha. Those who worship the unmanifested Prakriti enter into blinding darkness, but those who are devoted to the manifested Hiranyagarbha enter into greater darkness. What's going on here? To understand this, what's going on here, we need to back up the big picture. Because these mantras, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, these are stumbling blocks. These are difficult mantras. They are areas of controversy. Last time we saw some of that. Now again, we will see something similar. So back up. What's the big picture? The Vedas, they speak of religion and spirituality in two tracks. The tracks are called Pravritti Marga, Nivritti Marga. Literally, if you translate, it means the way of moving outwards, extroversion, or Swami Vivekananda translates it as circling outwards. And the way of introversion, the inward movement, the circling inwards. Nivritti Marga. Pravritti and Nivritti. A more simple way of explaining what those two are, if we use the terms religion and spirituality. So there is, the Pravritti Marga is what we know as conventionally as religion. So, and the Nivritti Marga is what we know as spirituality. More specifically, here is this world we are living in. How can we live a better life in this world? Can religion help me to live a better life in my job, my personal health, my job, my family, community, in these ways, physically, mentally, morally? Can religion help me? Yes, my goals here are pleasure and success and goodness. So can religion help me here? And religion does help us. It shows us the way to live a better life in this world. Not only that, the way to a better life post this life. So religion tells us there are heavens, not only one heaven, there are multiple heavens, which are wonderful, wonderful places, highly advertised, highly recommended. What is called gated communities, very nice place to live in. And for that, religion also tells us, with the Vedic religion tells us ways to attain those states after death. This whole thing is called Pravritti Marga, the way of extroversion, the way of action, the way of moving, circling outwards, So a better and better and better life. What could be wrong with it? Well, then a point comes when we realize the futility of all this. That we realize that, wealth is not that much better than poverty. That um, relationships is again not that far more superior than having no relations or being single or lonely. That power is not that much better than powerlessness. This might seem strange, but maturity shows this. You begin to see none of them are of lasting consequence, any deep satisfaction. Having got all of that, I am not satisfied. There is no fulfillment. Having got all of that, I am still not free of sorrow. So you can be rich, you can be powerful, you can be, wealthy, of course, rich, but also with people around you, relationships, things going well, and still everything is not perfect. We'll still have regrets and sorrows and unhappinesses and unfulfilled desires, things like that. There'll be still some kind of unhappiness. And if you don't get them, of course, there's huge amounts of unhappiness. So sorrow will still be there. And finally, a bondage, that this kind of pursuit of power, pleasure, success in this world, it is addictive. You can't get out of it. You are dragged from one thing to another in this life. And when we realize not only this life, from lifetime to lifetime, it's as if we are being dragged through life. Bondage. This is called bondage. No fulfillment. Sorrow continues and bondage continues. And emptiness comes. What is the point of all this? This comes to an old soul, a mature soul. We start seeking the answer for ultimate questions. Is there any point to all of this? Even a good life, is there a point? And what is there beyond this? And why at all is this going on? And where, what is this? What am I? Is it possible to really attain fulfillment? Is it possible to really overcome sorrow? Is it possible to be free of all bondage? Finally. So then one spiritual quest begins. And then one comes to Nivritti Marga, spirituality, which promises, yes, there is an ultimate reality. There is a freedom from the cycle of birth and death. There is another goal of life. In Pravritti Marga, what is the goal of life? In the way of action, the way of involvement in worldliness and otherworldliness. What are the goals? Dharmartha kama. Kama, pleasure, chasing pleasure. Artha, wealth, success. And on the basis of religion tells you on the basis of dharma, on a religious, on a moral basis. Vedic religion tells you that. Pravritti Marga tells you that. The way of action and engagement tells you that. But what is the goal in the Nivritti Marga, in the spiritual side of things? The Vedic religion says, well, there is an entirely new world of spirituality. And there the goal is moksha, liberation. 4 goals of human life: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So dharma, artha, kama belongs to pravritti marga, and moksha belongs to nivritti marga. Now remember, one goes from the pravritti marga to the nivritti marga. So already one is a good person. The pravritti marga makes you a good person. It's very difficult to jump from an utterly, dissolute, sinful life to the highest realms of spiritual. Not that it cannot be done. There are cases of villains being transformed into saints. But you have to see in each of those cases, those villains also had some samskaras, some kind of inclination towards, they had enough and move on. And then there's a period of transformation. So one moves from Pravritti Marga to Nivritti Marga. Both are Vedic religion. Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga, both Vedic religion. If one says, I am not interested in your yoga or Vedanta or Bhakti and all of that, but I believe in God, I am religious, I am moral, I really want to be happy in this life. And if there's heaven after death, I want to go there. Is that wrong? Not at all. The Vedic religion says this person is on the Pravritti Marga. And there is a huge range of things this person can attain to and aspire towards. But nothing on that path is ultimate. So having had an experience, we all have experience of Pravritti Marga. If we have ever tried to be a decent person and do the best you can in life, that is Pravritti Marga. I mean, quite apart from all the technical terms and the ancient, archaic, language. It is that people have tried to be decent people in life, tried to do duty in life, what was expected of me from your childhood till now, tried to be of help to others, and tried to be moral oneself, in our own lives, to be good. Then you are on pravritti marga. You are firmly on pravritti marga. We have all traveled that. That's why we have come. But we have gathered here. We are all travelers on nivritti marga now, because we are seekers. We are not here to learn, how to cure stress and how to attain, have a positive mindset and make $1 million and marriage counseling. All those things are part of pravritti marga, betterment of this life, in a very modern sense, not in the Vedic religion, but in a modern sense. But we are here. Why are we here? Why are we gathered here? We say, no, 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 we want to know the Upanishads. We want to know Vedanta. I want to realize who am I. I want to overcome suffering. I want to attain deep, lasting fulfillment. I want to realize God. I want moksha, freedom, salvation, nirvana. That is all the talk of nivritti marga. Why am I saying all this? Okay, now let us come to the Upanishad. What's going on here? These two have to be kept firmly in mind. Also, there are other distinction, important distinction. Pravritti marga is fueled by desire. There must be some desire. And religion tells us how to harness that desire, bring it within the bounds of morality, and then pursue it and attain it and get more also. But when one is done with little desires, I have seen more than enough. If there is something higher in life, please show me that. Then the Vedic the shopkeeper will say that there are special goods kept only for special customers. Come to the back, he will take out the Upanishad. He'll show you the Upanishad. Here is Brahman, here is Atman, here is enlightenment, God realization. So that's, now you are a customer for the Nivritti Marga. So with desire, worldly desire and otherworldly desire means heaven. Then it is Pravritti Marga for you. But without desire, one may still have desire, but at least one must be clear, I don't want any of that really anymore. It's just my conditioning of the mind which keeps me wanting those things, but I want to rise above it. I want to be like, Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Buddha, the great masters, Shankaracharya and all, the path that they have walked upon, I am walking on that path. I'm a spiritual seeker. Then what is your goal? It's not that you don't have a goal. We have a goal. So, moksha, God realization, enlightenment is the goal. So isn't that a desire? The answer is that Sri Ramakrishna would say, sugar candy is not to be counted among sweets, because sweets cause acidity. And sugar candy, I know when we were children, when we had a stomach upset, our parents would mix the sugar candy and water. We used to call it mishri jal. And kids like that. Generally, kids don't like medicine, but sugar candy and water is very nice to drink. So that destroys acidity. Just like that, Sri Ramakrishna would say, devotion to God, the desire for God is not to be counted among desires. It's a very simple way of distinguishing between pravritti marga and nivritti marga. So this is one more distinction to keep in mind. Worldly desire, otherworldly desire, I mean heaven. That is pravritti marga. No desire, but if you say spiritual desire, that's all right. And God realization, moksha, then you are in the nivritti marga. And we are all there because that's why we have gathered here. Now, come to the Vedas. The Karma Kanda, the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, the meditations prescribed there and the rituals prescribed there, karma and upasana, they are firmly in the pravritti marga. They help you to attain, ancient days. You perform this ritual, you will get rainfall. You perform this ritual, O king, you will conquer neighboring kingdoms. You perform this ritual, if a childless couple will come and ask for a child, perform this ritual, you'll be blessed with a child. All these are part of religion. This is perfectly all right. So that was pravritti marga. And those are the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. There's another portion of the Vedas, Upanishads. That is nivritti marga, the spiritual portion of the Vedas. That is called Vedanta, the end of the Vedas, the highest point of the Vedas. Siddhanta, the final teaching, the culmination of Vedantic teaching, Vedantic religion and spirituality is Vedanta. So this Upanishad is part of Vedanta. Upanishad is Vedanta, in fact. Now, come focus in further. So we had a bigger look at life itself. Pravritti Marga, Nivritti Marga, the structure of the Vedas, and now focusing on Ishopanishad. We are now in the Nivritti Marga, Upanishad, Ishopanishad. Now, it will make sense, hopefully, a little more sense. What Shankaracharya says here is, the Ishopanishad deals with Nivritti Marga, of course, spirituality, that is the purpose of Upanishad, but also brings in Pravritti Marga in service of the Nivritti Marga. How? The Upanishad, first of all, teaches Vedanta. It starts with the famous Ishavasya Sarvam, cover everything in this world by God. It teaches you there is one limitless divinity, one existence, consciousness, bliss. This is what we are seeing in error as a world. We are that one existence, consciousness, bliss. That is what we are seeing in error as this body, mind, personality. Ultimately, not only are we existence, consciousness, bliss, Chaitanya, so is the body and the mind and the whole universe, ultimately. So the Upanishad teaches us this and goes on and goes to the final, the climax, I think in the 7th mantra. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmanyeva bhut vijanata tatra ko moha kashoka ekatvam anupashyata. So where all beings become one with the self. You become means you realize that the whole universe is one with me. What sorrow can there be? What delusion can there be for the one who sees oneness? For the enlightened one who sees oneness. That's the climax of Vedantic teaching. Oneness and the divinity within us. All right. Now what remains? This complicated portion remains. The Upanishad does not condemn the ritualistic portion. It can't, because the Pravritti Marga and the Nivritti Marga are firmly both parts of Vedic religion. But it shows, it wants to show that the higher than the Pravritti Marga is Nivritti Marga. Higher than conventional religiosity is spirituality. So this is basically the theme. And what can conventional religiosity, the karma kanda and the upasana, the rituals and the meditations prescribed in the ritualistic portion, meant for the pravritti marga, what can they be of any relevance or help to us in nivritti marga? And he says, yes, there's something to learn from that side. So what is that? In the mantras 9, 10 and 11, what did we see? We talked about performance of rituals, karma, and performance of meditations, vidya. Vidya and avidya, he called it mysterious names. If he could have just said rituals and meditation, but he chose to say knowledge and ignorance. That creates so much confusion. Their knowledge means the Vedic meditations. Ignorance means not ignorance. Ignorance means not knowledge. Not knowledge means not meditation. What is there in Vedas other than meditation? I mean, in the Pravritti Marga, rituals. So the word avidya there does not mean ignorance, it means rituals. And finally, what was the upshot of the whole discussion? It says, combine rituals and meditation for greater effect. What effect will there be? If you combine rituals and meditations with desire in a pravritti marga, you will reach the highest heaven, Brahma Loka. The best possible achievement you can get in the pravritti marga. After death, you will go to Brahma Loka, the world of Brahman, of Brahma. Not a very spiritual world, but the best possible heaven, the finest, resort or whatever you can say in the high heavens. You will get that. But those who have desires, and that's not an end, because that will come to an end itself. At one point, you will have to be reborn again back to this world and to continue our spiritual journey. That is the pravritti marga. You might say, why mention it here at all? It's all done with. No. The same rituals and meditations can be done without any desire for heaven, with a desire as a spiritual discipline. What will it do? It will develop my spiritual capacity, the fitness for Vedanta, the fourfold qualification, viveka, vairagya, shamadamadi, shatsampatti, mumukshutvam cha, discernment between eternal and non-eternal. I'm translating. The dispassion for the non-eternal, and then the sixfold disciplines, and finally intense desire to be free. We complain in Vedanta, I don't have these. Well, go back to your other yogas. Go back to karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga. they will develop all these qualities. In the language of Īśopaniṣad, vidya and avidya, combine both, and your spiritual life will also be better. Your fitness for Vedanta will come. Now we come to another set. This is not only do you have to combine rituals and meditations, but two different kinds of meditation will now be proposed in this verses 12, 13, 14. And then it will be recommended that you combine these two meditation processes. What will be done? First, it will be said that if you do it with desire, you will get your goals, but they are much lower. If you do it without desire, you will get fitness for Vedanta, enlightenment, and freedom. That's the whole message. But this is the background. I'll repeat. What's going to happen in 12, 13, 14? Two kinds of Vedic meditations will be proposed, which belong to the Pravritti Marga, belong to conventional religiosity, the earlier portion of the Vedas. They belong there, but they'll be pulled in here, and it will be shown you should combine them for maximum effect. If you have got desires, the maximum effect will be attainment of some great, we'll see what you will attain. But all of that will come to an end. There is no end to suffering there. There is no end to, you will know fulfillment will be there, bondage will be there. So you'll again have to come back to this world. Whereas, if you do these meditations in combination, you will overcome, we will be able to overcome our limitations which are preventing us from attaining enlightenment, and we will be empowered to attain enlightenment. We'll get enlightenment and freedom and moksha. So this is all you can see. These are preliminary to Vedanta. And if Vedanta is not working for us, this contains insights why it's not working for us and what can we do to remedy the situation. Now let us go into the mantras themselves. Again, the problem is mysterious language. So creating a lot of confusion, multiple interpretations, controversies. You will see immediately. So andam tama pravishanti ye asambhuti upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyagam rataha. So those who enter into the unborn, they enter into darkness, into blinding darkness. And into a greater darkness, worse darkness they enter, those who are engaged in the born, the originated. Two words are used, Sam-bhuti, Asam-bhuti. What does it mean? Mysterious words. So thanks to Shankaracharya, we know now. So what are these two? These two are Vedic meditations. And what is being said here is, first of all, what is it? It's a mystery. The answer is they are Vedic meditations. Why is it a mystery? What's the problem? Again, here a little, what do they say in quote? Sidebar. Little added information. It's a mystery. I'll be plain with you because nobody knows what they are today. This is very, very ancient. What if you ask a Vedic scholar, what is a Sam-bhuti meditation? What is an Asam-bhuti meditation mentioned in the Isha Upanishad? They'll immediately explain on the basis of Shankaracharya's commentary. You'll say, no, show me how to do it. Step by step. Show me someone who does it. Nobody does it today. And nobody knows how to do it. So they're all obsolete. Don't let anybody tell you different. I have studied with one of the at least greatest scholars of Purva Mimamsa, the earlier portion of the Vedas, the ritualistic portion and the meditation portions. And he himself told me, he was like 98, 99 years old at that time. He told me, nowadays, nobody follows these things. We also do not know the precise meanings of these. We know the meanings, but we don't know exactly how to do them. Nor does anybody do them. Having said that, again, I can see traditional scholars will go, wait. So I understand. Yes, I know what they want to say. Nothing dies in Hinduism. So it's not that there's a great disconnect. These have been replaced by new worship. And so there are corresponding worship done in Hinduism compared to, with this. I'll point out what is the corresponding worship. What is that you find in day-to-day Hinduism today? Very much there. But not exactly the Sam-bhuti and Asam-bhuti at that time. Neither these words are current anymore, nor the particular techniques are current anymore, but they have been replaced, maybe with more powerful meditation. But the principle is the same, so we can learn from it. All right. So what is being said here, according to Shankaracharya? You should combine Sam-bhuti meditation and Asam-bhuti meditation. What is Sam-bhuti and Asam-bhuti? The literal meanings. Sam-bhuti means born, originated, that which has been created. What is Asam-bhuti? That which has not been originated, that which is eternal. All right. But what do they mean? What are they referring to? Shankaracharya explains here. Asambhuti, Sambhuti refers to Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind. Hiranyagarbha, that's a term which we are familiar with in Vedanta. I will explain what it is. So now we are on familiar ground. Hiranyagarbha, we say, ah, yes, I know that term. If you don't know, I'll translate into English and explain, but it's a well-known concept for Vedanta. Asambhuti, again a well-known concept. Shankaracharya translates. What is Asambhuti, the unoriginated eternal? He says it is Prakriti, Maya, Shakti. Prakriti, Maya, Shakti, the power of the Lord, the power of Ishvara or Saguna Brahman. Basically, Ishvara itself, you can say, God. Now, what is the mantra saying? Those who worship the Hiranyagarbha. Okay, first let me explain what is Hiranyagarbha and what is Maya or Shakti. We know it, but quick recap. The ultimate reality in Advaita Vedanta is Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss. More technically, Nirguna Brahman, attributeless Brahman. Brahman, attributeless means propertyless, actionless, attributeless. You can only say not this, not this. You can't give any positive description to it. That's the ultimate reality. And Vedanta will teach you, you are that. That's Vedanta. Now, that ultimate reality, Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, with the power called Maya, with the cosmic power called Maya, becomes Saguna Brahman, which gets attributes, gets properties. What properties? Amazing properties, glorious properties. Omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, all powerful, present everywhere, all knowing, all loving, all compassionate, just, the ruler of all beings, knower of all minds. So all of that becomes the power granted by Maya. To whom? To that limitless consciousness. You might say, so this one is better than the limitless consciousness. Why did you say that's the ultimate truth? And this is something somehow lesser or less. In Advaita Vedanta, this is a little lesser, one step down. Why? Now you have described the limitless. Now you have put certain conditions on it. Also, power equals powerlessness. You might say, what craziness is that? Why do you need power? Where is power relevant? Only when things have to be done. Only when something has to be accomplished. If everything is perfect, there's no occasion to use power. What will power do there? So perfection, ultimate reality, the absolute, does not need power. It's more powerful than power itself. It is the reality of the entire universe. It's what really exists. What is more powerful than reality? But then to create this universe of names and forms, Maya is needed. So in one sense only, it is a measure of a limitation. That's why Vedanta uses the language of limitation. Maya avachinna chaitanya or Maya upahita chaitanya, consciousness associated with Maya, or even more precise, consciousness limited by Maya. Limited by Maya. What does it make? It makes the unlimited God, the glorious, wonderful God of religion. This is what he is calling Asambhuti in the peculiar language of ancient Vedas in the Īśopaniṣad. Now, next what happens? Now, what do we have now? Pure consciousness and Maya together. This Maya is what he's calling Asambhuti, or more clearly, pure consciousness associated with Maya is being called Asambhuti. Saguna Brahman is being called Asambhuti. Sri Ramakrishna mentioned it. I'll tell you later what is our relationship with our modern understanding of Hinduism. Sri Ramakrishna said, what you call Saguna Brahman, I call Maya, or Mahamaya, or Shakti. He would say Kali Brahma Ak. Kali and Brahman are one. So this is the level at which he's talking. This is here in this context, it is called Asambhuti. Next, what happens in our story? This Saguna Brahman, another language, Asambhuti. It now projects itself as the cosmic mind. Various powers emerge out of it. The power of thinking, desiring, knowing, action, uh, uh, jnana, ichha, kriya shakti, the power of knowing, the power of desiring, willing, and the power of doing. These powers emerge. Tremendous powers. These are the universal powers emerge. And consciousness associated with Maya and this cosmic mind is called Hiranyagarbha. But it's a further limitation. Hiranyagarbha is a further limitation, but it's where the glory becomes even more prominent. So it is an most extraordinary, exquisite, stunning being. It's a being. And it is born. It is born. Remember, Sam-bhuti, Ishvara, God, is not born. When I said um, Maya becomes associated with limitless consciousness, that's not actually true. From the perspective of limitless consciousness, Nirguna Brahman, there is no Maya. There is just non-dual Brahman. So this is from our perspective. It's a very big paradox. The downward chain of evolution we start. We associate Maya with Nirguna Brahman in order to bring in Saguna Brahman. And from there onwards, Saguna Brahman is eternal from our perspective. God is eternal. But creation, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, the creation of the universe, existence of the universe, and decline of the universe, and again repeated creation, this happens. This is periodic, episodic. Now what does Saguna Brahman do? He projects forth cosmic mind and becomes associated with it and gets the name Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb. Why the golden womb? The universe is in its womb. The universe will now emerge, this universe which we know, the golden womb. How is it depicted in iconography? This Ishvara, this Mahamaya, this Asambhuti, in our more modern Hindu iconography, this is very ancient, more modern Hindu iconography, you will know it as the familiar Vishnu reclining on the cosmic serpent in the ocean of milk. That is how it's and in his navel, what happens? A lotus blooms and Brahma emerges. I'm sure he looks a little bewildered at first. Who am I? Where have I come from? What's going on? So then Vishnu gives Brahma the job of creating the universe, sort of subcontracts it out, and Brahma becomes busy creating the universe. That's why we call Brahma the creator of the universe. But Brahma is born, is originated, appears from time to time at the beginning of each cycle of creation. Therefore, the name is Sam-bhuti, that which is originated. What is Sam-bhuti? It is the Vedantic Hiranyagarbha, or in popular Hinduism, Brahma. And the Upanishads support this. In Mundaka Upanishad, we have read the first mantra of the Mundaka Upanishad long ago. We have forgotten. First mantra. Brahma devanam prathamas sambhabhuva vishwasya karta bhuvanasya gopta sa brahma vidyam sarva vidya pratishtham atharvaya jeshtaputraya praha. So among all the gods, the firstborn was Brahma. He appears. Who is he? Vishwasya karta, bhuvanasya gopta, the one who creates the entire universe. How? His cosmic mind, he knows everything. He's omniscient and the protector of the universe, bhuvanasya gopta. And what does he do? He gives knowledge. First thing he does is, after creating, he transmits knowledge of Vedanta, Brahma Vidya, the foundation of all knowledge of the ultimate reality. Because we are going further and further away from the ultimate reality. Now this is Brahma. Then what happens next? After creating the physical universe, now this Hiranyagarbha identifies himself or itself with the physical universe, is now called Virat, the vast. The vast, which is what Arjuna saw in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Vishwaroop, Virat. So now we have three. Asambhuti in the original Upanishad, the unoriginated. Who is that? Saguna Brahman. Another Vedantic name, Ishvara. Then we have Sam-bhuti, the originated. Who is that? Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind. Another name, Puranic name in Hinduism, Brahma, well known in Hindu iconography and all that. And finally, we have the physical universe, consciousness associated with everything in the universe, the fully expanded form of this universe, That is Virat, Vishwaroop, this cosmic being. Now, the Upanishad has referred to the first two, Sam-bhuti, Saguna Brahman, also is called here Maya, Prakriti, Shakti, you can call it, and Sam-bhuti, the cosmic mind. Now, this is unpacking the two terms, originated, unoriginated. What do you mean by that? This is what we mean. We can relate it to Vedanta. But now comes the problem with the language. Why is it saying by worshipping? What did it say? By worshipping the Asambhuti, one enters into darkness. What do you mean? By worshipping God, one enters into darkness. Then it says by worshipping the Sambhuti, worshipping Hiranyagarbha, one enters into even deeper darkness. What does it mean? First of all, you don't enter into darkness by worshipping God or by worshipping Hiranyagarbha. You enter into great glories indeed. What are the glories? So Shankaracharya points out, by the worship of Hiranyagarbha, the highest that can be attained is a range of extraordinary powers, superpowers, all sorts of powers like reading minds, your wish fulfillment, flying through the air or whatever, going to the astral plane, all types of stuff which you read about in yogic and tantric texts. Are they true? To some extent, they are. I can't deny it. I have had a little experience myself, and I know, of course, through accounts of other monks who have direct experiences, and of course, books and books are there on this. So I really can't deny it. There are extraordinary dimensions of existence. I will not even say human existence, which maybe this is what they're talking about. So the maximum power that can be attained is attained by the worship of worship of Sambhuti, cosmic mind. And that stands to reason. This cosmic mind is the depository of all powers. So they become manifested in the one who worships it. So you will not enter into darkness. And the one who worships God with desire will attain Brahmaloka, the highest heaven accessible, the best gated community, the best resort. So they will also not enter into darkness. Now, but why does it say you will enter into darkness? In what sense? From the spiritual perspective. From the material perspective, you will not enter into darkness. You will actually get great results. So why did it say it will enter into darkness and greater darkness? And they will say samuchayartham. In order to criticize separate performance of these two practices, and in order to teach you that do both of this, Sambhuti meditation and Asambhuti meditation together, combine them for maximum result. So to praise that, this separate performance of these two meditations has been condemned as entering darkness and entering greater darkness. So you should do it. What is all this in aid of? Pravritti marga, conventional religiosity. What is the best thing one can attain? But now we come to spirituality. What's the relevance of all of this to Vedanta? In Vedanta, it is darkness and greater darkness. Why? Because if you worship Hiranyagarbha with desire, what will happen is all the tremendous glories and powers which you will get will blind you to spirituality. You will not be fit for Vedanta. It will, if I have a desire to enjoy all that, then I will enjoy all that. You'll have an amazing time for a time being. But you will be in bondage afterwards, and all of it will come to an end, and it will leave no fulfillment behind. But while you are having it, the result of it will be you will be blinded to spirituality. There is a reason why, in the Bible, Jesus says you cannot worship God and mammon together. You cannot worship wealth, prosperity, power, and God. One must leave everything for God. That is Pravritti Marga, Nivritti Marga. They are two different, philosophies, and both religion will help you in both. One can lead a devout life and have a good life in this world, If your whole focus is in the world, by God's blessings, things will go well in the world and you'll go to heaven after death. But one can lead a devout life for God only. Then one is truly spiritual. That's why you turn their back upon pursuit of pleasure and power and all that. One is then satisfied with whatever one has got, enough to carry on one's life. But then my goal becomes God realization. Therefore, it is criticized. If you have too much power and all that, which you will certainly get by the worship of Hiranyagarbha, uh, unfortunately, spiritual progress will be blocked. It is blinding darkness. He says, great darkness. Little or less order of darkness will be, he says, if you worship Sam-bhuti, what will happen is that from a spiritual perspective, one will become merged in Maya. This is called Prakriti Laya, Prakriti Leena. This is a technical term found in yoga philosophy and Vedanta also. Prakriti Leena means I have desire, but at the same time, I worship God. Then you'll be absorbed not in God, but in the power of God, in the Prakriti of God, in primordial nature. Why? Why will that happen? Because if I have the seed of desire in my mind and I worship God and I leave that seed and I really want certain things, then what will happen is by the blessings of God, I will not be reborn again in this cycle of the universe. And I will remain with God, merged in Maya. But in the next cycle, I will be sent back with great glory and power, like emperor or something like that, and fulfill my desires again. So this is called Prakriti Laya. This is called a kind of immortality. With desire, worshipping God, being absorbed in the, let me use the technical term, it's so precise, upadhi of God, in the Maya of God, being absorbed in the Maya of God. The advantage is one will not be born in this, as long as this universe lasts. So one will not go through the cycle of birth and death. So it's an immortality. But the disadvantage is of course, that one will be born again when the next universe starts, will be projected forth. And again, it might not be all that appealing. If you ask, what's it like? I can sort of imagine what's it like to worship Hiranyagarbha and, it'll be something like being Superman or Spider-Man or something extremely powerful. But what's it like to be absorbed in Prakriti? You will get, if I tell you the answer, you will be shocked. It's like sleeping. It's like being in Sushupti, deep sleep for millions and billions of years. So that doesn't sound terribly, that sounds shatteringly boring. Of course, you won't be bored. You won't feel anything at all. You'll be in like a stasis. So you will be spared suffering, but there'll be no evolution also. There's no spiritual progress there also. That's why it's called enter into a darkness. This is another interpretation. I hope you can keep this interpretation separate. What does Sam-bhuti, Asam-bhuti mean? Why is it said darkness and greater darkness? That you should combine the two. They don't mean darkness and greater darkness. They mean wonderful things. But if you combine the two, you'll have a much better result. That's all conventional religion, Vedic ritualism, Vedic meditations, pravritti marga. Keep it aside. Now come to our spiritual life. What happens if you worship Sam-bhuti and Asam-bhuti with desire? Well, you will get great powers in this life and next life. Go further with Asam-bhuti, you will merge into Prakriti, and it will be unbroken sleep across the centuries and millennia until the eventual death of the universe. But then you'll be woken up again and thrust back into the next life, next universe, maybe in a very great position, something wonderful, may not even be human, superhuman, some divine position, but still not spiritual yet. Now, this is the background. What is the spiritual connotation in this day and age? We don't hear of, as I told you, we don't hear of Sam-bhuti and Asam-bhuti meditations today. What corresponds to the Asam-bhuti meditation especially is the worship of Shakti, of Devi. It is well known in modern Hinduism that if you want anything in this universe, if you want anything to be done, worldly sense or otherworldly sense, ask the Divine Mother, ask Ma, Shakti, Kali, Durga, Devi. So the Divine Mother is the modern counterpart. I'm stretching. There are Vedic scholars and modern Hinduism scholars who might look at all this with dubiousness, but I'm just now thinking openly. This is not wrong, but it is not established. Shankaracharya does not say so in that sense. But you can see that there is a tremendous practice of worship of the mother goddess in Hinduism from most ancient times till today. And it is there, the idea is your desires will be fulfilled if you worship. Not only desires will be fulfilled, if you want enlightenment also, Vedantic enlightenment, that also the Divine Mother can give. Ma Sharada asked a monk, go and ask Swami Brahmananda, who was the president of the Ramakrishna order, Rakhal, Sri Ramakrishna's beloved Rakhal, Swami Brahmananda. Go and ask him, why should one worship the Divine Mother? Why should one worship Mother Goddess? Shakti. Why should one worship Shakti? And when that person went and asked, he immediately answered, Swami Brahmananda answered, because the keys to enlightenment are in the hands of Shakti. The keys to enlightenment are in the hands of the Divine Mother. In most of our cases, if you really are seriously interested in enlightenment and you pursue Vedanta fiercely, except in the rarest of the rare cases, you'll run up against lots of difficulties, lots of obstacles, weaknesses, problems, our own problems, the worldly problems, and so on and so forth. There, the grace of the Divine Mother is needed. This is what the ancients called Sam-bhuti upasana. Sri Ramakrishna all his life worshipped God as Kali, as the mother, and considered himself to be the child of the mother, of the Divine Mother, God as the Divine Mother. Now, let's move ahead. The rest will become clear. Mantra number 13. Anyadevahur sambhavat, anyad ahura sambhavat, iti sushrumadhiranam yenastadvichachakshire. This spoke of a different result indeed from the worship of the manifested, and they spoke of a different result indeed, and result from the worship of the unmanifested, or originated and unoriginated. Thus we have heard the teaching of those wise men who have explained that to us. Again, this rhythmic reference back to ancient knowledge. They are not claiming, even the Upanishad, Rishi of the Isha Upanishad is not claiming, I discovered it myself. We have been transmitted this by our gurus. So this is maybe 3,000-4,000 years ago. Who knows what knowledge he's talking about, which is more ancient than this. The wise ones have explained this to us. What have they explained? Separate indeed is the result of Sam-bhuti meditation. Separate indeed is the result of Sam-bhuti meditation. All right. What are those results? And what's the point of saying this? The results are, if you want stuff, if you have got desire, then worshipping Sam-bhuti, the Hiranyagarbha cosmic mind, will give you tremendous power. All these stories of spiritual men who had lots of powers and all. So there's tremendous powers come to you. And the separate result of worshipping Asambhuti, the unoriginated, is you will be absorbed, Prakriti Lina. You'll be merged in Prakriti and saved the trouble of being born again and again and again. You'll have a nice nap. That's the greatest result you can obtain. And you might ask, the point being, combine the two. Attain to great glory and then be free of this cycle of birth and death in this universe. That's the world, that's the religion with desire. That is the path of the action and engagement. Now, on the spiritual path, what should we do? We should combine the worship for what? We'll see next. What will you get if you combine the worship of Hiranyagarbha and Shakti? Mantra number 14. Sam-bhutim cha vinasham cha yastadvedo bhayagam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyam amritam ashnute. He who knows these two, the unmanifested and the destruction, Hiranyagarbha, together attains immortality through the unmanifested by crossing death through destruction. Why will a person's head not spin with these words? Literally, if you translate it, what does it mean? Sam-bhutim cha, through the manifested, vinasham cha, through the destroyed. The one who performs both, one who practices both types of meditations together. Through destruction, one overcomes death. Having crossed over death through destruction. And Through the originated, one attains immortality. It's a mess. I'll tell you the first mess which is there. Why does it cause horror among scholars? Because till now it has been explained to us with great maneuvering and interpretation. There are two things which are being worshipped here. One is Sam-bhuti, one is Asam-bhuti. Sam-bhuti refers to Hiranyagarbha, and Asam-bhuti refers to Shakti, manifested, unmanifested, or originated and unoriginated. All right. Now what does he do in the 14th mantra? We're expecting a combination of the two, right? What is he doing? Combination, true, but now the terms are very bewildering. It says Sam-bhuti. We think that, he means Hiranyagarbha. But next he says, and the other one is destruction, vinasham. New term. And where did Asambhuti, the unmanifested Shakti, where did that go? And what is this destruction? And what does it mean? Through destruction, one overcomes death. And through the originated, the manifested, one attains immortality. None of it makes sense. So now Shankaracharya gets down to his interpretative tools and starts tinkering with it. The first tinkering he does will make your head spin. Here he says the first word, Sambhuti, literally means the manifested. He says, oh no, it doesn't. You say, okay, what does it mean? It means Asambhuti, the unmanifested. So the word is Sambhuti, and Shankaracharya says it means unmanifested, Asambhuti. Why? He doesn't just stipulate it, he gives arguments. Grammar, he uses a grammatical argument to show there's a reason. I will not go into the reason. There's a technical reason. If you write these two mantras, mantra number 13 and 14 together, one after another, then the ending of mantra number 13 grammatically stipulates that in the beginning of mantra number 14, it not stipulates, it implies. In the beginning of mantra number 14, Asambhuti, this is all Sanskrit grammar, Asambhuti should be written as Sambhuti. The A word is dropped. Actually, the A is there. If you read it together, then the Asambhuti will become clear. So, Sambhuti here means Asambhuti. What is Asambhuti? The unmanifested, Shakti, the divine mother, Maya, that one. All right, the other one then should be the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. But where is that? Vinasham, destruction. Now, this Shankaracharya has an easier way of explaining. This Vinasham means Sambhuti. Why? Because that which was originated, Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind, Brahma, will one day disappear. When the cosmos ends, the whole universe will be folded back into Brahma. Brahma will dive into that lotus in Vishnu's navel, which will be folded back into Vishnu, and Vishnu will start snoring. That will go into cosmic sleep. The universe disappears. The universe is folded back in again. Cosmic dissolution. That's why Brahma is called here, Sambhuti is called here, Brahma is called here, Vinasham, destruction, because it is characterized by eventual disappearance. What was called the originated in the earlier two mantras is here called the dissolved, the destroyed. It means the same thing. If I translate in our original terms, what Shankaracharya wants to interpret it here, worship of Asambhuti and worship of Sambhuti together is recommended. What result will you get? By the worship of Sambhuti, here called Vinasha, destruction, because that which is eventually destroyed by Hiranyagarbha, Brahma, by the worship of that, Mrityum Titva, you cross over death. What kind of death is he talking about? He says, this is the death of not having powers, of feeling helpless in life. So if you worship Sambhuti, Hiranyagarbha, you will get extraordinary power and glory. This is all for the worldly person who wants desires. You will get extraordinary wealth and glory and power, all sorts of supernatural abilities. You will be a tremendously powerful person in many ways, and in all ways actually. And therefore you cross the death called powerlessness. That's his interpretation. And what else? By the worship of Asambhuti, what will you attain? Amritatvam Ashnute, you will attain to Brahmaloka, you will attain to being merged in Prakriti, so that you will not go through any kind of birth and death. What about the spiritual interpretation? By worship of Vinasha, Sambhuti, one overcomes the death called impurity of mind. which prevents us from attaining enlightenment. Raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes, old samskaras. It's our biggest obstacle. Biggest obstacle. By a desireless worship of Hiranyagarbha, you will overcome impurities of mind. And thus purified, you'll be ready for the enlightenment. Here, Sam-bhutya amritam ashnute. By the grace of the Divine Mother, you will attain immortality. What is that? You will attain moksha, liberation. Of course, as Vedanta, we have to add that the Divine Mother's grace, you will get the Vedantic knowledge. Aham Brahmasmi. She will make it possible for you to attend YouTube class or Zoom class, so that one can get enlightenment. It's the grace of the Divine Mother. Huh? Yes. So this is the twofold interpretation of the final verse. What does it all mean finally? It means for those who have desires, those who are on the pravritti marga, the way of engagement and action, way of conventional religion, please perform your regular devotional rituals in whatever religion you are. Vedic religion had its own. Please perform your regular prayers and meditations. It will combine them both for a good life here and a heavenly life afterwards. And if you are spiritual, if you want God realization, then please perform Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga together. Ritual, you perform your rituals and all actions in the spirit of selflessness and worship God. Then you will attain fitness for enlightenment, and Vedanta will work for you. What the first portion of the Upanishad will work for you will be free. The second, the mantra, triad of mantras from 12, 13, 14 says there are two special kinds of worship. Worship of Asam-bhuti and Sam-bhuti. Worshipped separately, they will give you some result, but worshipped together, they will give you great result. What is the great result? If one has desires, then one will attain great glory and power and become finally merged in Prakriti, will not be born for the rest of this cycle of the universe. Of course, will not attain enlightenment and freedom. But those who want freedom, won't want God, who want liberation, they should do the same worship of Asambhuti and Sambhuti without any desire, nishkama. Then what will they get? They will get purification of mind, and by the grace of God, Vedanta will work for them, enlightenment will dawn, by the grace of the Divine Mother, to be precise, Shakti, which is Asambhuti, the unmanifest. You will be released from the cycle of birth and death. Amritam Ashnute enjoys immortality. That's that. Let me see. Sangeeta says, Thakur called Saguna Brahman Mahamaya, but did he call it Maya too? Sometimes he did call it Maya, but he always meant by Maya, Mahamaya. Because if you say just Maya, it means the upadhi, the associate power of God. By itself, it's just like saying the policeman's power comes from his uniform or his badge. So badge is Maya, but the policeman himself is Ishvara. So badge makes policeman Ishvara. But the badge by itself is not nothing. It has to be worn by the policeman. Similarly, Maya by itself doesn't function. It functions with consciousness. Consciousness plus Maya becomes Ishvara. That's what is called Mahamaya. That's what Sri Ramakrishna meant by Kali. So sometimes Sri Ramakrishna would say Maya or Brahma. Maya and Brahma are the same. Shiva and Shakti are the same. Kali, Brahma, Ak. But by Maya, he would always mean Mahamaya. Only sometimes he used Maya in the sense of delusion, worldliness, caught in the network of desire. Maya, that is the common way we use in Vedanta or in Hinduism in general, when we say a person is enmeshed in Maya. In that sense also Sri Ramakrishna is used. Rodrigo, is any possible relation to Sri Vidya and Sri Yantra? Yes, yes. I was implying that. So I'm not initiated in that, therefore I will not go into it. But I don't know if some of you saw, those who were here, revered Swami Shantatmanji was here. yesterday. He was telling me privately about it. So he is our orders expert in Sri Vidya and the Chandi. He has performed the Chandi Homa many times. He knows this thoroughly and he's practiced it himself also. He's authorized also. So, but these things are esoteric and are they cannot be talked about in lectures and things like that. They cannot be talked like it's just transmitted from teacher to student. So those things are actually, you are absolutely right. Those are the modern corresponding practices and teachings in modern Hinduism. By modern, I would mean the last 2,000-3,000 years, post-Buddhistic, let us say, which have replaced the Sam-bhuti, Asam-bhuti, etc. Janravi says, in my reading, I came across the description of Maya as anadi, but santa, beginningless, but that which ends at the time of enlightenment. I wish to confirm my understanding. I used to struggle with this idea as I could not wrap my head around the idea that something can come to an end and can be unborn. But that to say that Maya has a beginning can lead to problem in infinite regression, anavastha dosha. Is my understanding right? Absolutely. So, when you say you're struggling with the idea that something unborn can come to an end, that's exactly it. You know, in Vedanta, Maya is defined as ajnana, ignorance of my real nature. Any ignorance is beginningless and it comes to an end. I've given the example earlier also in this forum of a teacher asking us, do you know German? We say, no. Since when? So you're ignorant of German? Yes. Since when are you ignorant of German? When did your ignorance of German begin? At birth, somebody said, oh, so before your birth, you knew German. No, that's not true. So my ignorance of German, if I don't know German, my ignorance of German is beginningless. Any ignorance is beginningless. Suppose you don't know something. Since when don't you know? Beginningless. But when will it come to an end? It can immediately come to an end when you bring in knowledge of that subject. So ignorance is beginningless and it can be ended. Technical. Are there any other examples of beginningless and can be ended? There are. It's a little technical. Those who are trained in Nyaya philosophy will immediately recognize it. So there's something called pragabhava. It is beginningless, but it can come to an end. What is pragabhava? Very quickly. Abhava means absence. The logicians were very big on nothing. It literally means nothing. There's nothing. Absence. But there are four kinds of nothing. Four kinds of nothing. There's nothing before something starts, nothing after something ends, and then there is the mutual nothing of one property, one thing in the other. Like, for example, the horse does not have the property of being, say, a cow, and the cow does not have the property of, the property of cowness is absent in the horse, and the property of horseness is absent in the cow. That's mutual absence. That's the third kind of absence, third kind of nothing. And then there's plain old nothing, just nothing. So these are the four kinds of nothing. In Sanskrit, pragabhava, prior nothing, dvamsa bhava, posterior nothing, anyonya bhava, mutual exclusion actually. And then the last one is atyanta bhava, just nothing. So why am I saying this? Consider the first one, prior nothing. So the example is given of a pot. Before the pot was created, what was there? The pragabhava, the prior absence of the pot. When did the prior absence of the pot start? Beginningless. That particular pot, it's not there yet. It's going to come. We're going to make it. So when was so this absence of the pot is there now. And this absence, when did it begin? Beginningless. When will it end? The moment before the pot pops into existence or created. When the pot is created, the absence of the pot is gone. Now there's the presence of the pot. So the absence of the pot has gone when the presence of the pot has come. So it's a beginningless absence. It comes to an end, the prior moment before the creation of the object. So beginningless comes to an end. These are examples. You might say all this sounds too complicated. I was quoting Eliot. He studied Vedanta and Indian philosophy at Harvard University. And he writes that the subtleties of these ancient Indian philosophers makes our European philosophers look like schoolboys. So it can real. This is just what I said is schoolboy level nyaya, Indian logic. Just children learn it. The real difficult stuff. I remember talking with one of the cutting edge philosophers in the world today in this area, Professor Parimal Patil. He has specialized in this neologic of India. And he says, sometimes I feel they were just having fun, making it more and more and more subtler and subtler and subtler. And sometimes I wonder what was the point of all this. Secondly, is it the beginninglessness that makes it possible to establish the ultimate oneness between Brahman and Shakti? Yes, you're right. I never thought of it that way. Yes, unless Shakti was beginningless, you couldn't have make it one with Brahman. There's a further question, but I'll give you the question and the answer in cryptic form. You have to work it out yourself. One question might be, Brahman is beginningless and endless. Now you are saying Ishvara, God, Saguna Brahman, is beginningless and endless. Maya is also beginninglessness and endless. In what sense is Maya beginningless and endless? We saw how Maya is beginningless, as ignorance is beginningless. Maya is also beginningless. So in what sense does Maya come to an end? Does it Maya come to an end? Yes and no. It is what is called in Vedanta badhita, sublated. You realize its falsity. You realize the underlying existence is non-dual Brahman. But the appearance, the movie show can go on. It is going on. So for that person who's enlightened, it has ended. But for the rest of us, it's still going on. Maya will not be destroyed because somebody got enlightenment. So it is beginningless and endless, but beginningless with an end if you are enlightened. Both are true. Rick Archer says, is there any teaching about how long the dissolution of the universe lasts? It's an absurd question because in the state of dissolution, there wouldn't be any time. There wouldn't be any time. Time and space would have collapsed as they do in a black hole. Yes. So that's the idea. They don't discuss the period of dissolution. Although they use terms like it is the night of Brahma, the day of Brahma and the night of Brahma. And they can assign a figure to it because if the day is so long, the night also can be so long. But really, technically, if you push a little further, where is time when the universe is not there? Who is keeping time? I mean, time with respect to what? A good example is time does flow when we are asleep, but from your own perspective, in so deep sleep, there's no feeling of time. There's a feeling of time now when you're awake. There's a feeling of time in your dreams, but in deep sleep, there's no experience of time from your inner perspective. Now, the inner perspective becomes the cosmic perspective in the case of God, because here at least there's a world existing when we are asleep. But as far as God is concerned, the Sam-bhuti, when the universe disappears back into Sam-bhuti, into Maya, there is no external universe existing also. What will keep track? Where is the ticking clock? John says in verse 12, those who worship refers to the jivas. Yes. Those individuals who desire to worship, those who worship. Yes. And the distinction would be those who worship with desire, those who worship without desire. Those who worship without desire are those who are seeking enlightenment, God realization. Sonali says, maybe destruction can also refer to the unmanifest or deep sleep as was mentioned in previous mantra. That way Asambhuti wouldn't have to be changed to Sambhuti. Destruction, then the problem would be that you cross over death by Asambhuti and then attain to immortality by Sambhuti. Then again, that does not make sense. Amira says, specifically, how should we react to wealth and success in the world? For others, good for you. For yourself, if you want it, seek it, but learn very quickly that it will not lead to lasting fulfillment. And if you do want to seek it, the teaching of the Vedas is seek it within the limits of morality and ethics. Whatever you get in the limits of morality is good enough. For one cultivating vairagya but still living in the world, should the attitude towards money recognition be one of detachment? Yes. If you are a spiritual person living in the world, then you should become a karma yogi, not a karmi, not a doer of action, but using action to purify your mind. A worshipper, you become a worshipper of Hiranyagarbha and Asambhuti. Sambhuti and Asambhuti without any desire, that is with detachment to the world. Or one of respect and gratitude, as in the worship of Lakshmi in most Hindu beliefs, honoring wealth as divine but not clinging to it. Yes, that's also perfectly all right. I'll tell you this story. Sri Ramakrishna is famous for his renunciation, and one of the well-known stories, not parable, anecdotes about him is, to practice renunciation, he would take clay in one hand and coins in one hand and throw them into the river Ganga and saying, Taka mati, mati taka. Clay is money, money is clay. This is like, there's no difference between dirt and money. And he would throw it both into the river, that to erase the difference in his mind. But then the addendum is humorous. What happened afterwards? When he got up, he said, but I've disrespected Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, thrown her away. What if she stops my gruel? In Bengali, our ঘ্যাট বন্ধ করে দেন যিনি, যদি তিনি আমার ঘ্যাট বন্ধ করে দেন. What if she uh, gets annoyed with me? And then I'll starve if nobody feeds me. So my vegetable curry, if he stops my vegetable curry. So he prays that you stay in my heart, O Mother Lakshmi, not in the form of coins, but you stay in my heart. I respect you, definitely. Parul. In iconography, Shiva is associated with Vinasha. Today, Brahma was associated with it. How? Yes, Vinasha is the dissolution of the universe. So Shiva is the Lord when same Ishvara, Vishnu, what we call Vishnu when he is creating, or he is protecting the universe. The same Saguna Brahman takes on the form of Shiva, of Rudra, when the universe is dissolved. Who will be the final victim to be dissolved? Who will pack up the bags? Is Brahma. That's why he's called Vinasha, the last one to disappear, when only Shiva will be left. Is there any teaching about, oh, that's already done. All right. Swayampreet has a hand up, so you can just ask the last question.
Maharaj Pranam. Maharaj, my question is, did Thakur actually talk about Vijnana Vedanta, or his ideology was that of Bheda Bheda? This is my first question. I have a follow-up question as
Okay,
well, but
wait, let
first
me just,
question
a big question, because there is a lot of work going on, especially by Swami Medhananda ji on Vijnana Vedanta. He has written some couple of wonderful books. So it is quite clear that Thakur never used the term Vijnana Vedanta. That's the term given by Swami Medhananda. But Thakur, number of times he mentions Vijnana, which is after Jnana, after enlightenment, a further expansion or fuller enlightenment would be what he called Vijnana. That he does mention. So you are quite legitimate, you can claim, if you want to develop an expanded, improved, plus version of Vedanta, and you call it Vijnana Vedanta, fine. Not Bheda Veda, not Bheda Veda. Bheda Veda is why it is Thakur's philosophy is not Veda Veda. Some have thought it's Veda Veda. Well, there are different forms of Bheda Veda. Vishishtadvaita is one form, Shaktadvaita is another form. So Bheda Veda means difference and non-difference. Now, is that what Sri Ramakrishna taught? No, because Bheda would be resistant to the ultimate Nirguna Brahman. All the forms of Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, Shuddhadvaita, Dvaitadvaita, Achintya Bheda, all of these devotional schools of Vedanta, what Swami Tapasyanji called the Bhakti schools of Vedanta, they will not agree with Advaita Vedanta's final thesis of Nirguna Brahman. So at some point they will either completely decry it or pass it off as a lower experience or as a lower ontological category. They don't agree with the absolute Nirguna Brahman, the formless, attributeless absolute. So Sri Ramakrishna's Vijnana would be something beyond Bheda Bheda. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.